Okay, in this video, we're going to review the Samsung Galaxy Nexus, the flagship Google Nexus device for Verizon Wireless, and this phone runs on 4G LTE. This phone is also the first ever phone to run Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich. And I gotta say right out of the gate that Ice Cream Sandwich is a definite upgrade from previous versions of Android. Mateus Duarte, who is the design lead on Android, is really trying to make the operating system a lot more cohesive. And they've even created their own new font on the device. Now, if you look here, you can actually tell. If you're familiar with Android, you'll tell the difference. I've been using Android for many years since the beginning. I owned the original G1 on day one, so I can tell subtle differences like this. You can tell in the time here, it's a new font. The font is called Roboto, and I'm going to drop down the drop-down menu here, and everything is written in what they call Roboto, which is the font that they use for the device. It sounds like a small thing, but it's one of the things they're doing to unify the operating system, make a unified font, and then also make a unified user experience. They're trying to make the operating system a lot easier to use and take a lot of the complexities out of it. Now, one of the first things you'll notice on this device when you look at it is the screen. It's a full 720p screen. That means you have 1080 pixels by 720, and basically, to put that into perspective, some television sets are 720p. But this is a 4.65-inch screen, so you get a lot of pixels packed into a small space. In fact, you get 316 pixels per inch on this device, which makes it very close to the Apple iPhone's Retina display, which is 326 pixels per inch. But the difference on this phone is that you have a much larger screen. Like I said, you have a 4.65-inch screen, whereas on the Apple iPhone 4S and the Apple iPhone 4, you only have a 3.5-inch screen. So you actually have more pixels on this screen than you do on the Apple iPhone, even though the pixel density is 10 pixels per inch greater on the iPhone. Now, this is a Super AMOLED HD display, and really to do this justice, you have to see it in person because the blacks are very dark, the colors are very vibrant. It is a beautiful display. It has a 100,000 to 1 contrast ratio. Very nice display on this device. Let's take a quick tour around the device. Like I said, you have a 4.65-inch screen. You do not have any Android buttons on the bottom. It's all accomplished through software buttons. You have a 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera. You have your speaker for your ear here when you're talking on the phone. You have your microphone down on the bottom here. It's a little pinhole there. You also have your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack and your micro USB port down here. On the left side of the device, you have your volume rocker. On the top, you do not have anything. And on the right side of the device, you have your 3-pin connector here for when you put this device in a dock so that the device knows that it is in a dock so it can change the display on the screen. You also have your power button here on the side. On the back of the device, you have your second mic here. You have a 5 megapixel camera and an LED flash here. Also on the bottom here, you have your speaker, which unfortunately I find is a little low. It could be a little louder on this phone. The phone is made out of a plastic, and you have a textured back cover here, which pulls off from the top here. And inside you have a micro SIM for the 4G LTE. Now, Verizon is a CDMA carrier, so normally you do not deal with SIM cards, but 4G LTE runs off of SIMs, and this runs off of a micro SIM. The battery in here is, I believe, an 1850 milliamp battery, and the battery also has the NFC chip in it, the Near Field Communications chip. On the back of the device, you have your Verizon and 4G branding, and of course your Samsung branding. There is no branding on this device from Google. Only when you turn the phone on, you get a Google that appears on the device. Now, in here you have a proximity sensor, and down here you have an LED light. So if you have any notifications when the screen is off on the device, if you have any notifications, there will be a flashing light down here. And that's something that was on the original Nexus phone. It had a trackball down here that would glow when you'd have a notification. Now, one of the things I like is that this phone also has face recognition, and it's pretty useful. because you don't have to type in any code or do any swipe patterns. You can just put the phone to your face. It uses the front-facing camera here, and if it recognizes you, it signs you right into the phone. Now, there has been talk that you can actually use a picture of you to sign into the phone, so it's not 100% secure if you're trying to lock away your phone from people that you know. But it is very helpful if you actually lose your phone somewhere, because no one's going to have a picture of you to log into your device. I like it. It gives you a measure of security, and for the most part, when you log into a phone, you don't always want to have to put in some sort of pattern or PIN code. Sometimes you just want to access your phone very quickly. So that face recognition is a nice feature. Now, this is a stock Android experience. Unfortunately, Verizon has managed to put some of its Verizon apps on the device, which is not a real big deal, because it's really when you get an Android device and you get a stock Android device, you really don't want the skins on it. And that's really the main issue. But the one thing that I really don't like about this phone is that it is equipped with near-field communication. And Google is trying to get their Google Wallet off of the ground, which uses the near-field communication chip in this device. And if you're not familiar with what Google Wallet does, basically you can use your cell phone instead of a credit card. You would swipe the phone, and the near-field communication chip is in the battery in the back here, and you would swipe the phone on some sort of kiosk or payment device which accepts NFC payments, and you could make payments with the phone. But Verizon, since they're coming out with a competing service to Google Wallet, doesn't allow it on this phone here. And I'm all for Android. You know, people get angry about the fragmentation of Android, but I believe that there are different use cases for everybody. Not everybody wants the same phone. So I think that the fact that there are a lot of different form factors and a lot of different price points on Android phones is a positive, not a negative thing. So when Verizon wants to have their Droid line of Android phones, I think that's a great thing. And if they want to do anything they want with their Droid, like the Droid Razr or any of the Droid devices that are out there, that's up to them to do. But this is a Nexus device. There have only been 3 Nexus phones, and basically a Nexus device, if you're not familiar, is a pure Google experience. And you don't want a carrier getting in there and messing with it. So that's a real big drawback on this phone, is that Google has allowed Verizon to mess with this phone. Putting apps on the device is not a big deal to me. I really don't care. Some people take offense to it. Putting Verizon apps on there is not a big deal. But not allowing Google Wallet kind of rubs me the wrong way. The other thing that I really was not happy with Verizon was the release of this phone. The launch of this phone was probably one of the worst launches of any phone that I can think of. When I bought the original Nexus 1 phone, I bought it straight from Google. They overnighted it to me for free, and I paid $529 out the door for it. So it was a reasonable phone. This phone, if you wanted to buy it unlocked, is $799. Now obviously there's technology in this phone that is cutting edge, but for $800 you could get a tablet with all of the same functions of this device for less. So anyway, I think Verizon really messed up the launch of this phone, and I think they did so because they kind of wanted to bury this phone and push the Droid Razr instead. The Droid Razr and the Samsung Galaxy Nexus were announced on this very same day, and the Galaxy Nexus was supposed to launch in November of this year, 2011, but it was pushed back, and there was never a solid release date given, and then it kind of just trickled out on the 15th. So I blame Verizon for that, because this phone did launch in the UK in November. Now granted, that version of the phone was a 3G version, and this is a 4G version, but Samsung does make 4G phones. This is not Samsung's first 4G phone. So I'm sure they could have gotten it out the door in November. In my opinion, Verizon delayed this phone and kind of buried this phone, because Droid is Verizon's Android brand. They actually licensed the name Droid from George Lucas. So they have a lot of money invested in the Droid line, so they want to see that succeed. And I want to see it succeed too. But don't mess with the Nexus phones. Leave them strict Google experiences. That's just my opinion on it. That withstanding, this is still a great device. Don't get me wrong. Now, one of the things that was actually introduced on the Nexus S phone is that you actually have a curved screen on this. You might not be able to tell from this angle here, but you have a concave screen here. It bends inward. So it kind of contours to your face when you hold it up to your face. And that's one of the characteristic things, or at least the characteristic feature in the last two Nexus phones, both of which were made by Samsung. Now let's just walk through the operating system here. Now obviously it looks different. You no longer have your characteristic Android buttons on the bottom. Everything is accomplished through these software keys here, and you no longer have the menu button. This is much like Honeycomb in that you have a back button, you have a home button, and you have a multitasking button. So you're familiar with back. It backs you out of all the programs that you might be in at a particular time, or whatever you're doing, you can back out to the previous step. You can hit the home button, it'll bring you to your home screen here. But the new thing here for people who have not used Honeycomb tablets is the multitasking button here. So I'm going to hit that, and it's going to bring up all the programs that I've used previously, and you can scroll through them. Right now I only have a couple here, so I don't have a lot, but if I did have more I could scroll through them. Now, Mateus Duarte, who is, like I said, the design lead for Android, also was the design lead for WebOS. So if you're familiar with the WebOS card system, this multitasking view is somewhat similar to that. The card system on WebOS is horizontal, whereas this is vertical, but they both run on the same idea. These are all the previous programs that you've used, and if you want to dismiss one, swipe it away, just like you would on WebOS. And you can do it in either direction. It doesn't matter. Now, usually on Android you have a search button. Well, you don't have a search button down here anymore, but you do have your Google search up top here, and it's on every home screen on your device. So if you want, you can type something in by clicking here, or you can use the voice commands. And voice commands on mobile devices were pioneered by Android about 2 years ago with the original Nexus device, the Nexus 1. But if you want, you can click here and let's do a search. Samsung Galaxy Nexus. And it pulls up a Google search. You don't only have to do Google searches though, you can set alarms with this, you can compose text messages with it, and you can actually request a song to be played from Google Music. Okay, now while we're in here, I might as well just show you the browser. As you can see, everything is nice and smooth. We're on a Google search here. Let's click on one of the links here, and this is actually the Verizon wireless site. So let's click on that and bring that up. And let's do a little pinch to zoom on this. Everything's really nice and smooth. Very capable hardware and very capable software as well. So one thing that's different on this browser here is up here. I don't know if you can see it here. I might just bring it closer so you can take a look. On top here you have your address bar or your address/search area up here, and then you have a tab area over here. So let's click on that, and it shows you your different tabs that you can switch in and out of. And if you have a lot of them, as I have Tech Harvest there and I have a couple other things here, you can bring them up. You can actually dismiss them if you want. So I could dismiss this one by shooting it over to the side, just like you would in the multitasking area. And you can jump from one window to the next. And that's my YouTube page here. Also up here, if you ever see these three dots, that is your new menu key. Now normally on the bottom you have a menu key on old Android devices, but on Android 4.0 these three stacked dots is your menu button, and it allows you to refresh, go forward. Obviously I can't right now, so that's grayed out. Save to bookmarks, share page, find on page, request desktop site, save for offline reading, and settings. So that is the browser on this device, and I find it pretty useful. If you do want to go onto the URL bar up here, you just click on it and you can type in whatever you want, or you can do a voice search. Now when this device launched, it did not support Flash, but a Flash update came out very shortly thereafter. So the phone does support Flash, and let me actually play one of these videos here. and you'll see for yourself that it does support Flash.
Okay, this actually is a test of the front-facing
Let me turn this
camera
down.
on the Asus.
So you can see I have motion here. And supports Flash very well. There's no breakaway. Sometimes when you have Flash playing on a browser window and you scroll up or down, the Flash video breaks away from the web page itself. Not the case here, as you can see. You can even zoom in and out while it's playing. Not that you would, because that'd be annoying, but you could actively zoom in and out while the video is playing. So it's nice to know that you get the full internet on this device because it does support Flash. Now, as with all Android devices, you can either pinch to zoom, as I showed you, or you can do a double tap. Now, one of the visual cues that has been added to Android 4.0 is that when you go all the way to the right or to the left, you'll get this highlighting, this kind of blue highlight, to tell you that you've reached the end of your home screens. So it's either on the far right or even on the far left. So it's a visual cue to let you know that you can't go any further. So it's a nice little touch. And really, at the end of the day, these little touches all combine and give the user interface personality. Now you can actually see the new animation when you go into the app drawer here. When I click on the app drawer, it kind of zooms into it. And you'll see that when I swipe the pages here, it brings it from behind. And if I want to go backwards, it's a cool little subtle touch. And when you get to the extreme end, it's just like you would get to the extreme end on your home screens. It gives you a little visual cue that yes, the phone is registering your touch, but you're at the end of the list here. And the same thing is on the other end here. Nice little touch. Now, another new feature in Android 4.0 are folders. Now, recently I did a bunch of benchmarks on this device, and I have 6 different benchmark apps on this phone here. Why don't we put them all in one folder? So I'm going to grab one here, and I'm going to drop it on the next one, and I've created a folder. And I'll take this one, and I'll drop it on that. And you can continue to drop in these programs, these apps. I think I'll actually put in 8 because there's some other programs I'm going to be putting in here. But I'm just dropping them in, long pressing and dropping them in. And let's move this folder down here. So I've created a folder, and I can enter that folder, and that's what it looks like when you have all the different apps in there. And if you want to pull one out, you just long press and pull it out of the folder. Very intuitive, very simple. And if you want, just as usual on an Android device, if you don't want an app on your home screen here, you can just long press it and go up here to the garbage can and remove it, and it pulls it off of your home screen. But it doesn't get rid of it off of your device. If you want to still access it, you go into your app drawer here. Now the app drawer looks a little bit different now. It goes side to side instead of up and down. So you no longer have a scrolling list of apps. It's just from side to side. And you have 2 different menus here. You have your apps and your widgets. You can go from your apps to your widgets by just swiping until you're out of apps, and then you start your widget menu. Or you can just click up here on the different categories to toggle between them. Now you have a lot of the same widgets that you have on Honeycomb on this device here. You have your clock, you have your active bookmarks, you have a calendar, you have contacts, you have your books, bookmarks, and your contacts. You can put a contact on the screen if you want. A lot of the same apps or a lot of the same widgets that you find on Honeycomb tablets you find on here. And really it makes sense because Honeycomb was pretty much the next version of Android after Gingerbread and was basically a tablet-only operating system. And this ice cream sandwich merges the tablet operating system, which is Honeycomb, with Gingerbread. So you're going to get a lot of the same features on both of those previous operating systems on the newest one here. Now this is your dock down here, and you can actually customize it by pulling things out and dropping things in. But I actually kind of like the way it is, so I'm going to leave it this way. Now I have a full review on the camera, a full review and overview on the camera. But with the camera, the notable things, the notable changes on this is that you can actually do a panorama on here, and I have a full dedicated video to that. So you can actually take panorama photos with this device. You have 0 shutter lag. Now right now I have the flash on, but let me turn the flash off and you'll see what I'm talking about. You can actually just fire away and take pictures with this. So you have 0 shutter lag. That's one thing that's upgraded. And the other thing that's upgraded, if you go to the video camera mode, you actually have different effects. And these effects are pretty cool. You can do silly faces, you can do squeeze, you can do big eyes, you can do big mouth, big nose, small eyes, and then you can change the different backgrounds. You could look like you're in space or sunset or whatnot. So very cool new upgrades, little upgrades to the camera here. And also one thing you'll notice, if you're familiar with Honeycomb tablets, you'll have already known this for about, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 months now. But you have these little discrete little dots there that if you want to reveal what they are, you just press here and you see that you have your back, your home, and your multitasking button. Your new characteristic Android buttons. Now with this device you have your characteristic drop-down menu here, and it's very snappy on this phone. This phone is a dual-core 1.2 gigahertz processor, and really I haven't thrown anything at this phone that slows it down, so it's very nice. But here you still have your notifications, very similar to what you're used to on Android, and you can either interact with these notifications by clicking on them, or you can swipe them away if you want. If you don't want to deal with it anymore, you can just swipe it to the side and it's gone. Very similar to WebOS. Now another thing up here in the drop-down menu you're going to find your settings up here. Now on previous Android devices you would hit your menu button and you could go into your settings. But you can either access your settings from here or you can actually use the shortcut here. But I'm going to show you what it's like from the drop-down menu because you don't need any shortcut. Your drop-down menu is always there on your home screen, so it's the easiest way to enter into your settings. So right next to the date here are it's a graphic of some sliders. That's your settings. I'm going to click on that and it's going to bring up my settings. Now you have your settings, your characteristic settings. They are organized a little bit different here, which is nice. You have your wireless and network settings, your device settings, your personal settings, and your system settings down here. Now the one thing that's really cool about this is that you can actually check and monitor your data usage here. So you can click on this here and you can see how much data you're using versus your cap. Now on this device I have 4 gigabytes of data usage that I can use per month. And it also shows down here what you've used so far. So I've done a lot of speed tests on this device, so that's used a lot of my bandwidth on this device so far. But you can see what apps are hogging your data, and you can monitor them that way. And if you find that one app is using too much, then you know that you can curb your use of that app, or if you want to get rid of it entirely, you can do that as well. But you can also set a warning for your data usage. So like I said, I have a 4 gigabyte cap. I have a warning set here at 2 gigabytes. So the phone will let me know when I've used 2 gigabytes of data. Very nice feature in Ice Cream Sandwich. Another thing I want to cover is the actual voice-to-text. Now Android has had voice-to-text for about 2 years, like I mentioned before. It was introduced with the original Nexus phone, the Nexus 1. But the difference on the brand new version of Android, Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich, is that it will actually start to populate your voice-to-text as you're still talking. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I have my text messaging app pulled up here, and we'll just cover the keyboard while I have it up here. It's very similar to other Android keyboards, stock Android keyboards. You have your full QWERTY keyboard here. On top of the QWERTY keyboard, you have your most used punctuation, and the top line of the QWERTY here, you have 1 all the way up to 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So if you want, you can hold down the letter and it will pull up the actual number to the corresponding letter here. If you want to use letters, if you want to have a dedicated keyboard for that, you just click on the dedicated button down here, which switches between letters and numbers and symbols. But what you can do is the voice to text, and that's what this is all about. So let's start something up here. This is a test of the Samsung Galaxy Nexus voice to text. Now, as you see here, it's actually populating the text as I'm talking, which is something new on Android 4.0. And I really think that this voice to text is one of the best out there because it's very accurate. But it's very cool. As I'm talking, it's populating the text here. So it's almost like voice dictation to maybe a secretary or something like that. Period. Smiley face. Kissy face. Very cool. So a definite upgrade on the voice to text feature on this phone, and I really like it a lot. Now, if you're interested to find out more about this phone, I have a lot of videos up on the camera. I've done several camera tests on this device. I've done a lot of benchmarks on this device. I have an unboxing on this device. I have a dedicated video on the panoramic camera function. I have a video on the specs on this device. And I actually have a video comparing this device to my previous phone, the Motorola Atrix 4G. All in all, I think this is a great new device. The only drawback I can say about this phone right now is that the loudspeaker on the back is a little low. So just take note of that. If you rely on speakerphone, or if you like to have loud notifications and ringtones, just note that this phone, even with the volume all the way up, is a little bit low. It's a little bit on the low side. But on the whole, I think this is a great device. I love the screen. As I said, the colors are so vibrant. If you get a chance, definitely see it in person because this video doesn't do it justice. The darks are very dark, the colors are very vibrant, and it is actually a 720p screen. Android 4.0 is a definite must-have. And if you're not on contract right now and you want a new phone, I would definitely recommend the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. It's $299 on contract. If you have to buy this phone full price, it is $799.99, and that is a little bit pricey. But those drawbacks are definitely outshined by the device itself. The screen, the 4G, Android 4.0, the buttery smoothness of the operating system on this hardware. If you do video recordings on the device itself, the audio quality is very nice. I would definitely recommend this device if you're due for an upgrade on Verizon, or if you're not on contract currently and you want a state-of-the-art fast phone. 4G LTE alone is definitely a selling point on this phone. So what do you think? Please post your comments down below. And again, if you want to see any of the other videos I have on this device, click on the link at the end of this video. And that pretty much does it for this video. I will see you guys next time.